So where do we start? This is often a big question that we have. You know, what teachers should I target? Who are the people that we want to, you know, ask, tap on the shoulder? So subject areas with big captivating questions are really key, and it's for kids, not for us as adults. And I've made this mistake as a chemistry teacher, and I was talking to a fellow chemistry teacher that tried knowledge building. He said, yeah, I did this brilliant unit. We did plastics. There's so much stuff out there on plastics, and he came through like chemical engineering background. And afterwards, we talked about it. I said, oh, it was a total failure, right? And he said the kids weren't into plastic. And so he chose a unit that just wasn't really controversial, wasn't really captivating for students. You know, if you talk to a couple kids in the class and said, hey, can you talk about the chemical properties of snowboards? How do you make them better, faster, lighter? You know, talk about maybe a political issue in a community. Kids are becoming more, you know, community-based and active, like social activist-based in their thinking. Something that connects to them personally is important. Subjects or topics of natural controversy where, you know, they either hear their parents debating it, they see it on TV, they see it in media are always great. Subjects with links to current events are always good as well. And then there's always exceptions, the ones that surprise you. So, you know, we don't want to necessarily close those doors. Having the right team was also really important. And so when myself and a colleague of mine, Chad Warren, you know, worked on our end, we thought about projects that we did that went really, really well and projects that we did that weren't so successful. And you know, one of the pieces we discovered was the team that we created was part of it. And it's not necessarily a team of yes people. It was teams that were the cautious skeptics. It's teams of people that were the, you know, the rah-rah champion type folks, and having that diversity of skill in terms of using technology, in terms of doing something different was part of it. But all people were representing different social groups, tech ability, subject areas, and all of them had resiliency and curiosity as key characteristics, right? They were wonderers, they were tinkerers, and they weren't afraid of failure. So those were some of the key characteristics.
They didn't give up.
Yeah.
You know, because it is challenging, it is difficult, and they were willing to continue to try it.
So challenges that we had to overcome, fear factor, and Karen's already alluded to it in the presentation, that fear factor of what if, what's going to happen if I teach it wrong, if the kids learn it wrong, if the technology doesn't work. You know, there was a list, I had a slide in a previous version of this that I think had 10 key fears that were presented to us. And so overcoming that was important. You know, the day we introduced knowledge building to our teachers, I think everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with, you know, the technology, the weather, like you name it. And so having to quell those fears after we just said, oh, well, yeah, nothing worked today, was big. Technology was a challenge. You know, you hear people talking about it. We saw it happen yesterday. You know, do we have the bandwidth to have kids on the internet interacting with each other, doing the research? Do you have the resources in your school to actually give kids the access? You know, what about Facebook? What about this? What about that? So there's, you know, dealing with the technology was a component. But then giving people the permission to say it's not just about technology. Pen and paper is okay. String is okay. Talking in circles, using chart paper, that's all part of the process. Matching curriculum is a big one. I think when you hear about knowledge building, you hear about discovering your own learning, the first thing people say, well, throw the curriculum out. We can't do that. You know, but there's a lot of thoughtful planning that goes into creating a knowledge building unit that links the curriculum to what you're doing in the knowledge building unit. And as a teacher, as the administrator, how are you weaving those two pieces together? Assessment's a big challenge. You know, when you look at the 12 principles, one of the things that Marlene talks about is kind of new, creative, innovative assessment. We don't necessarily have those tools yet. That's something that we're developing. That's something that people are working on through e-portfolios, through presentations. We're still doing tests. So how are we going to assess people? And then there's the confidence, and we talked about it. Confidence from administrators, confidence from teachers, confidence from students that, can I actually do this? Can my kids actually do this? You know, those were all things that we had to work on.
And I think one of the biggest challenges was the time factor. We're always under time constraints. And, you know, a typical unit of study may be completed nicely within 4 to 6 weeks. And everything's wrapped up and completed. And engaging the students in knowledge building takes time, takes a lot more time. So I know my teachers, when they first started, were really stressed out. Well, it's day 5 and we haven't finished developing our questions. You know, how am I going to get this completed and have a mark on that report card, Karen? You know, and you have to give them permission to muck around with it. It's messy work. You have to give them permission to give the time for the students to explore and work with it. And by giving them that extra time, you see at the other end, the engagement, the learning, it's so worthwhile. But as the administrator, you have to support them in that, because that's a huge fear.
Massive. And that kind of links to, you know, creating the environment and conditions for staff. And so this year, like this presentation really, before, I guess, the spring, really focused on the mechanical processes in the project that we did. And I remember chatting with Chad one day, and we were saying, okay, well, what was it about the project that made it work? So we started talking to our teachers. And one of the key things right at the very top is the culture of trust and support. And that came right from the ministry through to the classroom, right? When I think about leading student achievement and their connection to the ministry saying, we've got knowledge building, we want you to go play with it, we trust you guys to do it well. That was the first layer. And then our superintendents and principals of programs saying, okay, we trust you guys to take this into schools, and we're going to support you through the process. And then on the ground in our schools, telling our teachers, hey guys, it's okay to play. We're going to muck about. We've got lots of things in our toolbox that will help us recover if it doesn't work perfectly. And then the teachers felt a little bit more comfortable, which gave the students that comfort level to say, yeah, it's okay for me to ask a question. I'm not going to be made fun of or teased. So culture of trust and support, I think, was almost the #1 factor in terms of the success rates that we saw. I don't have anything to quantify that other than some conversations, and but I think that would be, from a casual observation, a big thing.